Today we will discuss about the calibration of the Speedy moisture meter. This test is performed on the basis of two ASTMs or two tests. First one is oven dry method, that is ASTM D2216, and second one is Speedy moisture meter as per ASTM D4944. ASTM 2216 deals with the determination of moisture content present in the soil by the help of oven, in which we place a soil sample in the oven for 24 hours and determine the moisture present in the soil. On the other hand, ASTM D4944, which deals with the determination of the moisture content by a Speedy moisture meter. ASTM D2216, in this test method, we have a soil sample that is placed in the oven at the temperature of 110 plus minus 5, and the loss of mass due to drying is considered as a amount of water present in the soil. Normally we place the soil sample in the oven for the period of 24 hours, but as per ASTM, mostly drying specimen time is 12 to 16 hours is sufficient. After the 12 to 16 hours, we have to take the reading. If the three values are constant, then we can consider that our sample has been dried and moisture present in the soil has been evaporated. The minimum amount of the sample required is as follows. As you can see, there is a table. According to the seed size, we can take the soil sample, but minimum soil sample required is 20 gram for the moisture content. ASTM D4944, as we discussed earlier, deals with the determination of the moisture content with the help of Speedy moisture meter using a chemical calcium carbide as a reagent. That chemical reacts with the water present in the soil and produce a gas that exerts a pressure on the dial gauge and tells us the amount of water present in the soil. Normally 20 gram sample will be used for the Speedy moisture meter. This is accordance with the ASTM D4944. Further we will discuss in the procedure why we perform calibration. Over the period of time, the variations can be occur in the values of the Speedy moisture meter, while on the other hand, our quick method is required in the field to determine the moisture content, and if in the lab we have a oven dry method, which is more accurate method for the determination of the moisture content. We have to take the soil sample. Same sample will be tested in the Speedy moisture meter and in the oven dry method, so we can evaluate our sample on these two test bases. Test sample. For the ASTM D2216, minimum 20 gram sample will be used, and for Speedy moisture meter ASTM D4944, 22 gram sample will be tested. Significance and use. Why we perform the Speedy moisture meter and oven dry method? For many materials, the water content is the most significant index property used in establishing a correlationship between soil behavior and its index properties. So we have to find out the moisture content for the various other tests like Proctor compaction test, Atterberg limits. We must require the amount of water present in the soil sample. For this purpose, we have to determine the moisture content. Apparatus used for the calibration of speedy moisture meter. First one is speedy moisture meter. Two steel balls present in the speedy moisture meter apparatus, clean brush, scoop for measuring the calcium carbide reagent, container for the measurement of moisture content in oven, weight balance and an oven. Procedure. First of all, weigh about 26 gram of soil sample, tiered scale or a scale provided along with the apparatus by manufacturer, and place in the cap of the tester in speedy moisture meter. Place 3 scoop of calcium carbide and 1.25 inches steel balls in the larger chamber of the moisture tester. Normally the purpose of the steel ball is to break the clay lumps if present in the soil, because the clay lumps have the moisture content and the moisture content present in the lumps will react with the chemical and produce acetylene gas that will exert pressure on the pressure gauge and indicate the amount of water present in the soil. Then raise the moisture meter vertically and rotate it in horizontal position. Shake the instrument so that the lumps are broken as I discussed earlier, and chemical will react with the available free moisture. When the needle stops, read the dial while holding the instrument in a horizontal position at an eye level. Record the dial reading. The dial reading is the percent of moisture by wet mass and must be converted to the dry mass according to this formula. WSP is a value that we read on the dial indicator divided by 1 minus WSP into 100. Here we have the value in percentage at the dial reading. We will convert into the decimals and after that multiply by 100. That is will be our moisture content. On the other hand, same sample will be tested for the oven dry method. In this step, find out the moisture content by an oven dry method for the same soil specimen. Take a container and mark with the specific number and place some soil in the container and weight it. As we discussed earlier, minimum 20 gram soil sample will be required for the determination of the moisture content by oven dry method. Place the container in an oven for the period of 24 hours. After 24 hour time, weight the container and find the weight of water and moisture content by applying the following formula. Here is the formula. There is WW, weight of wet soil, weight of water divided by weight of soil multiplied by 100. This will be our moisture content. Shaking period. For the speedy moisture meter, shake the apparatus at least 1 minute for sand and increase the time for silt and up to 3 minutes for clays. Some highly plastic clay soils may take more than 3 minutes. Periodically check the progress of the needle on the temperature gauge. Allow time for the needle to stabilize as the heat from the chemical reaction is dissipated. This is the time period provided by the ASTM. Sometimes we have a soil sample that we are testing in the speedy moisture meter and our dial gauge reading maximum capacity is 20, and if the limit exceeded, then we have to take the soil sample half. For example, we are taking the 22 or 26 gram soil sample, we will take in 11 or 13 gram soil sample and our calcium carbide quantity will remain same as 2 scoops, and the resultant value on the dial gauge will be multiplied by the 2, that is our required value if we are exceeding the maximum limit of dial gauge at speedy moisture meter. Calculations: at the end of the test, plot the graph between moisture content obtained by the speedy moisture meter and oven dry method and develop a relationship graph. There is a table provided on which we can write down our values. This is the graph. Here you can see on x-axis there is a WSP, value of speedy moisture meter, and on y-axis value of oven dry method. On this graph basis we can calibrate our speedy moisture meter, that if we are having the variations in the value of oven dry and speedy moisture meter. Thank you. Now we will go for practical performance of the speedy moisture meter test.
Now we will perform the calibration of the speedy moisture meter test. Here you can see this is the apparatus of the speedy moisture meter test. This is speedy moisture meter in which we will place the soil sample and perform the test. This is the weight balance on which we will measure the required soil sample. That boxes are for the chemical, calcium carbide, weight balance, soil cans, scoop for measurement of the chemical, and soil samples. First of all, we have to measure the soil sample. As you can see here, this is our soil sample. This is the weight balance on which we will measure the weight of the soil sample. You can see here there is a arrow mark. When this mark will come to this graduation mark on the weight scale, this is our required soil sample for the speedy moisture meter. Here you can see that this is our required soil sample. This sample is ready for the speedy moisture meter test. Now you can see this is our vessel of the speedy moisture meter. Steel balls that will be used for the purpose of clay lumps that will be present in our soil. These steel balls will be used for the breakage of the clay lumps, and moisture present in the clay lumps will react with our chemical, that is our chemical calcium carbide, and this is the cap. First of all, we will place our sample into the vessel chamber. After that, we will measure the quantity of our chemical, that is calcium carbide. We will place in the cap. As you can see here, 2 scoops of calcium carbide will be used for the speedy moisture meter test. Now we will place this in the cap. After placing the sample in the speedy moisture meter and chemical in the cap, we will place it in the horizontal position, as you can see here, as this. Now we will tightly close the cap of the speedy moisture meter. Here, as you can see, now our apparatus is ready for the performance of the test. We will shake it in this horizontal position and gradually increment of the dial gauge we will note down. Then again shake in the horizontal position and check the value of the speedy moisture meter at the bottom of the dial gauge. Here you can see that at that time it is about 9, that is a percentage of wet weight. Now you can see it is about 9.4. Our one small division is equal to 2, so we can say that it is 9.8. We will shake the speedy moisture meter up to 1 hour for sandy soil, 1 minute for sandy soil. We will shake the speedy moisture meter for 1 minute for sandy soil, 1 to 3 minutes for clay soil, and more than 3 minutes for highly plastic clay soil. As per ASTM, we have to shake our sample for this 3 times, as I said, 1 minute, 3 minutes and more than 3. On the other hand, we can also shake the sample until our dial gauge is not yet constant. As you can see that at that time our sample reading is 10, that is our constant value of the speedy moisture meter. So we can note down that this is our WSP value 10. Now for calibration purpose, we will measure the moisture content of the sample with the speedy moisture meter and as well as by oven dry method. For oven dry method, first of all, we have to take the can and mark the identification mark, as you can see here, that is 1M. We will note down the empty weight of the can. That will be the empty weight of can. You can see here 12.11 gram. Now we will place the soil sample into it. Minimum 20 gram sample will be used for determination of the moisture content by oven. You can see that the weight of the wet soil plus can is 44.31. Now as we perform the first sample, this is our second sample and third sample. We will perform minimum 6 readings for speedy moisture meter, as well as same sample will be tested in oven and in speedy moisture meter. On these test basis, we can find out the relationship between oven dry and speedy moisture meter to calibrate our speedy moisture meter. This is our second sample. Weight of empty can 13.04 gram, as you can see, and identification mark is 2M. We will take the soil sample, wet soil sample. As we discussed earlier, minimum 20 gram sample. If the sample is having 4.75 mm size or number 4 sieve passing, minimum 20 gram sample will be taken for the determination of moisture content by oven. As well as this is our third sample. Weight of wet sample plus can. Now we will open. This is our tested sample by the speedy moisture meter. Now we will perform our second test on the second sample, as well as third on the third sample, and so on. Now this is our second sample, the required weight of the speedy moisture meter. We will place the sample in the vessel chamber and then take 2 scoops of calcium carbide in cap and use these 2 balls, that ball for the breakage of clay lumps. Place in the horizontal motion like that and closely tight, as you can see. After that, rotate in the circular motion and note the WSP value on the dial gauge. Basically, acetylene gas is produced between this chamber that exert pressure on the dial gauge and show us the percentage of wet weight, that is our Speedy moisture meter value. As you can see, it is 7.3. As discussed earlier, 1 division is equal to 2, so it is 7.6. This is our second sample. These lumps are in the chemical, this is the chemical in the hard form. So in this way we can perform the calibration of the Speedy moisture meter. Now we will go for further calculation for graphical representation, and we will draw a graph between WSP and oven dry method, OMC by oven dry method, moisture content by oven dry method. Now place these samples in an oven at a constant temperature of 110 plus minus 5 for the period of 24 hours. As you can see, there are our samples. After 24 hours, we will find out the weight of dry sample and that will be the determination of moisture content by oven dry method.